Our initial idea for Skin Patrol was to create a mobile medical practice that would allow employers of people who are occupationally exposed to the sun to be able to get a workplace skin check that was efficacious. So at the time, employers were having trouble getting doctors to come out to work sites, so large mining organisations and other employers of outdoor workers. And the main reason for that was that doctors perceived a high level of medico-legal risk to go out to a site and conduct skin checks in an environment that wasn't necessarily clinically sterile, or an environment that would allow them to have appropriate follow-up with those patients who were deemed to have lesions suspicious of skin cancer. So we developed a methodology to be able to do on-site skin checks in a clinically safe manner and in a way that would enable us to follow up those high-risk patients and patients deemed to have lesions of skin cancer. And we really didn't change that business model for many years, probably 8 or 9 years. And it wasn't until one day we got an email from a patient who told us that they'd been along to a skin check, they were fine on the day. A few days later, they were sitting on a beach. Their partner took his shirt off and she identified a lesion on his back that reminded her of the images that she'd seen in her skin check, in the education she'd received during her skin check process. And she identified that there was something wrong with the lesion. They went in to see the doctor that day, and her partner had a stage 3 melanoma. And in her own words, if it wasn't for the fact that her employer had paid for her to have a skin check and she'd been educated around skin cancer early detection, she never would have found that lesion. They were going into winter, and she fears that her partner may have been a fatal illness for her partner. And what that made us realise was that the education we were providing people was much more powerful than, I guess, what we'd considered. We had always seen ourselves very much as a business-to-business solution. But then we started thinking about, well, if we are able to save someone's life purely by giving them some education during their skin check and handing them a double-sided A4 piece of paper, maybe we could be a little bit more innovative and creative around the education we were giving, and maybe we could come up with something which was more interactive and I guess something which the patient would be more likely to hold on to in the long term. And through that process, we ended up developing a device called the Skin Check Tool, and it's very low cost. It costs us around $1 or $2 to manufacture. And whilst we still sell to the same market, still a business-to-business process or transaction, what we've identified is that through this device, instead of selling a service, which is expensive and typically around $80 per person, we're able to productise our intellectual property and our skill around educating patients. And we can work with clients who don't have the higher budgets that enable them to have on-site skin checks to facilitate on-site skin cancer education. And the way that works is for under $20 a person, an employer can run an on-site skin cancer education day. We provide them with videos and posters and supporting collateral, and then they will hand out one of our skin check tools, which you can see on imskincancer.com.au. And that tool is something which has utility not just on the day of the skin check or on the day of the wellness initiative, but something they can take home and they can use with their family. So we found that by turning a service into a product and by being able to lower the price point from $80 a person to under $20 a person, but still really meeting the same need, and that is to tick a box that says either, hey, we care, or to tick a box that says we're legally responsible for educating you around skin cancer, we've been able to increase the market size of companies that can utilise our service from probably a small pie, maybe 5 to 10% of Australian companies could afford our on-site skin check service, to something now which any company across the country can utilise. And so we've managed to quadruple the business through simple innovation of taking a service and turning it into a product. We've had the business now for over 10 years, I think 11 years. And so it is difficult to think about, if we went back in time, if we'd launched the business with the Skin Check tool, whether or not that Skin Check tool would have been successful in the early days. I mean, maybe we needed to, go through the experience of running the service-based business and to build a brand that we had the credibility that would enable us to launch a product like the Skin Check tool. And certainly, now we have that tool endorsed by the Cancer Council here in Australia and the Skin Cancer Foundation in the US. So again, it's our track record and our credibility that allowed us to change course a little bit. But if I looked back and thought about the business, really, in its essence, we are a business-to-business service. Our customers typically will pay us in 60 to 90 days, but we have to wear the cost of delivering the program, up front. So the cash flow is tricky, and even no matter how hard we've tried, and at the outset we didn't think it would necessarily be a particularly seasonal business, because skin cancer is an all year-round disease. The seasonality combined with the cash flow, if you look at the business as a whole, you are constrained by scalability based on the price and the cost of the service. So I guess I would have really spent a lot more time on the financial modelling to think through the implications and the challenges of running a service-based high-cost business. And I think, would that have stopped me doing it? Maybe not, but I think we probably would have come to market with a few other products and services from day one.